Okay, here they are, my 3 vintage shabby chic journals. They are recycled upcycled encyclopedias. They've all been chalk painted with multiple layers of tinted wax and just clear wax. So I added some details on the spine, so you can see with some modeling paste to give them a French vibe. And this one, unfortunately, the cover ended up upside down. You know, there always has to be the one that ends up. So you can see there's cracking in the spine. It helped to add to that aged vintage look. They have been sealed and multiple layers of wax on them, so a cracking will occur naturally in these journals. All of these journals are full of actual antique book pages and vintage and antique ephemera. I'm just going to move them all off to the side for a second so I can explain some of the antique finds that are there. So they will all include book pages from this 1920s book, German book that I have. And the font on this is just gorgeous. It's a beautiful book that will eventually someday be made into a journal. They all include some poems from this well-loved little book. This is from 1910. This one here is a Norwegian children's reader from 1911. So they all have a page from this book. They also have pages from my Goddy's Women's Book magazine from 1871. So there are pages in there from this treasure. As well, there are some of my linotype book pages in there from 1930. It's an original linotype. It's a huge big red book that I have. They also have pages from this weekly paper that was printed. It's also in German and it's from 1914. There's probably more stuff in there, but I probably can't remember them right now. So we'll just go through, take a little peek inside. They all feel really soft and smooth. Oh, I love the wax finishes. It adds such a nice touch. So the little frames are a porcelain frame that I found. Like I said, the cracking. And this is all tinted wax to give it the coloring. So some Tim Holtz book pages. They also have some antique and vintage linens. This is an antique hand crochet. Some of my digital kits. These are my French ephemera digital kits. My paper ephemera digital kits. There's some of that paper. This one's from 1926. The journals have a lot of things. My intention was that you would take these items out and use in your own projects for collage and things. So just a little tuck spot here. Some actual vintage ledger from 1924, 25. So just a little flip, little spot. They also have a page from this vintage calligraphy book my daughter brought back from Rome with her 2 weeks ago. And there's that home book. So, like I said, pages to take out and use in your own projects, and then fill it up with your own items. So this was made into the Italian calligraphy digital kit. Just little tags. Little bits of ephemera that I used in here are from J9 Scraps on Etsy. She also has a YouTube channel. So another piece of 1927 bank check. Actual piece of antique ephemera. Some little paper clips or safety pins and Tim Holtz dolls. This is from that 1871 book. I had to reinforce it with a bit of paper because it is 100 and some odd years old. These cute little paper doll dresses that I found on Etsy. This little tuck. Another little tuck. This is my vintage photos digital kit. There's some more of that. This one's 1914, that newspaper. Some of my vintage paper digital kits. I embossed this glassine bag. I don't know if you can really see the detail. There's that 1930 linotype book. Some more of the digital, vintage paper digital. More antique linens. So just a little tag. And this is my very newest prized treasure that I've included here. It was kind of painful to part with. This is my French ledger from 1855. It's just so beautiful. This has also been made into a digital kit in my shop, but this is an authentic piece. And this is the 1925 ledger. Also had to be reinforced because it would crack a bit. Some vintage claim tickets, little tuck spot. Another little piece of vintage ephemera. This was 1954, 1956, 1957. It's a payroll. Little Tim Holtz doll. More vintage paper digital kit. These are my Victorian calling cards digital kit. Vintage paper digital kit. More of my vintage photos. This is vintage music sheet from, I think this one was 1910, 1915. I can't quite remember. I can't find the cover. Don't remember what I did with it. So, just a little tuck spot. There's that French ledger digital kit paper. It's a little pocket with some journal paper. Vintage paper digital kit. There's that German book from 1920s. So a little embossed envelope with some more of that digital French ledger, little piece of embossed paper for you to use in your own projects. Vintage flashcards, a little snippet, a little booklet, just a little tag, stamped tag, more of that 1925 vintage ledger, just a little lace snippet, vintage laces, and some antique lead, more of the linotype, more of my vintage paper digital embossed. 1919 paper. There's that 1871 Victorian ladies book. It's also a digital kit in my shop. just a little tag and tuck spot. This is a receipt from a French receipt. I've been ordering a lot of things from a shop in France. Also, my daughter brought home quite a few little treasures from her trip. She was in Paris and Nice and Lyon and Florence and Italy. She went to Rome and Venice. Just another piece of embossed paper for you to use. The French Ephemera is a new kit that will be coming. I spent 9 hours scanning all my new French treasures. This one's from 1930. It's an authentic piece for you to use. I'm just gonna flip this open so I can get this into this pocket without tearing it. There we go. So just a little flip. More of that 1925 ledger, little bit that fell off, little tag, little lady, Tim Holtz lady. For you to take out and use, just a little tag. Some more of that German paper, this one's from 1926. It's a newsprint, so it is very delicate. Just a little ephemera tag. Just a little tuck spot in there. Paper clipped. It's a time card from J9 Scraps on Etsy. And this is one of her guest checks. I love that color. It's my favorite color. I didn't want to alter it. I thought you could alter that one yourself. Alteration tag from J9 Scraps as well. She has great things in her shop. This is the digital kit that I made from those Italian calligraphy cards. This is a vintage receipt from a dairy creamery shop from 1944. And just put in there. Just a little tag. I just love the color. More of my vintage paper ephemera. Some vintage chenille fabric that was gifted to me by a friend. Paper dolls and little paper dress. And a coat room card from J9 Scraps. More of my vintage paper ephemera kit. Just a little snippet with some vintage buttons. More of that linotype 1930 book, a French postcard, and these are gorgeous. Also, I've made these into a digital kit in my shop. French lady postcards. Just a little snippet with some bits of lace and another tag from J9 Scraps. More of that 1871 ladies book. So just a little envelope. And then there's this envelope with a letter in it that somebody had written, and not completely old, but 94. I just love the color of the envelope. More vintage linens. More of that antique French ledger that I made into a digital kit. And some, this is very vintage, this little measuring tape. It's so vintage it's literally falling apart. So another authentic receipt. This one's from 1934 from France. I do love French ephemera, so my vintage photo digital kit, little lace snippet. This library tag and card are from J9 Scraps. Another embossed piece of paper for you to use in your own craft. crafting. More of that 1914 paper. Little bag from J9 Scraps. There's that digital kit from the Italian calligraphy my daughter brought back from Rome. More of that, I'm pretty sure it was 1911, 1915. Don't test me on it, I wouldn't pass. Paper dolls. This really cute little envelope from J9 Scraps. Love these envelopes. They're so much fun. Little piece of metal there to dress it up. Little folder from my digital kit. Vintage laces. It's a French photograph from a very old French photographer back in the early 1900s, but it's not an authentic, it's from a book. Of Paris that I love. Apparently cutting up. So more snippets. There's some of that ledger piece for you to use. This one's from 1926. Like I said, my intention was that many of these items can be taken out and reused somewhere else. Just a stamp tag, those paper dolls, and a vintage receipt from the gas company. This is just an embossed large envelope for you to use and put items in. I embossed it with my new embossing plates that I bought. There's that French ledger, but this is my digital kit, not the authentic. This is from that Norwegian children's book from the very early 1900s. Little gentleman and my vintage paper digital kit. And there's some of those linotype paper. Now they are very old, so they did crack because they are 1930. So for you to take and use. And some vintage eyelet. Just another embossed piece of paper for you to use. My Victorian calling card digital kit. There's that Rome calligraphy kit, a little snippet, 1871 paper. More of the Victorian calling cards. Little snippet tuck spot made from my vintage photo digital kit, and then the alteration card is from Janine, sorry, at J9 Scraps, and then some very vintage little bits of lace. There is a tuck spot here for you to use. This is a time card from J9 Scraps. And just a stamped envelope. A little snippet. More of my vintage paper digital ephemera kit. Just some papers for you to collage on. More of the linotype book. It's a reproduction postcard of Paris. My vintage paper digital kit. And then the back of the book. So all the books are fairly much the same except for, well, all the papers are different. Obviously all the antique bits are different, and all the antique pages are different. All the decorative papers are different, but still pretty similar, just little different decorating bits. Oops. She wanted to go on a trip. card. I have no idea what the dates are, but I know they're pretty old. Because of the handwriting. You know things are old because of the handwriting, because they had beautiful penmanship back then. Just another letter. It's actually in, I'm pretty sure this is Norwegian, from Norway. You start to handle enough vintage antique ephemera and you start to figure out which countries the handwriting is from. This one is from 1915, vintage hotel receipt. More of that French ledger, digital. And G9 scrap. Authentic ledger. I have ordered so many ledgers. I am literally going to be ledgered out when they all show up here. I've ordered about 6 antique and vintage ledgers. There's that Norwegian early 1900s children's book. My digital kit, the embossed envelope, the linotype, my digital from my vintage papers, my calling cards kit, more snippets, calling card, another one of those time cards from J9 scraps. This little tiny mini paper clip. They're just adorable. I love that lace. And then this, the last one. This is actually vintage Irish lace. I can't remember exactly the date, but it was early 50s. Again, same things, same idea, just different. Beautiful 1855 French ledger. So in love with that. It's like parting with a child to put a piece of that in here. It's just too new. I only just got it. Love. I've made a Victorian Ladies magazine digital kit, but oh my gosh, I still have so much work. I have literally hundreds and hundreds of pages to scan still. It's finding the energy and time to do it. Well, time I have, energy I don't have. I don't do talking videos often, mostly because well, now my voice is already starting to go. I do have stage 2 lung disease, so talking is very difficult. Another beautiful antique postcard. Another letter. No idea what it's from. This one was from 1988. But lovely paper. These are not a digital. They're just not old enough for my digital digital needs. This would be the carbon copy at the back of the receipt for this hotel. And this is 1874. And it is just super delicate. G9 scrap library card. One of those calligraphy cards. G9 scrap. Little jewelry timepiece and clock bag. Another one of those photographs from my vintage book of photographs of Paris. The photographer was early 1900s, I think 1910, 1915 era, up into the 1920s. So some more ledger for you. More snippets. Just a little tuck spot. There's that Norwegian children's book from the early 1900s. The type, linotype book from the 1930s. Victorian calling cards, the Italian calligraphy cards, the Victorian Ladies magazine book. More calling cards, G9 scrap alteration, my vintage photos, another time card. You get the idea. It's all pretty much the same. Just like I said, different. And this, that's exactly where I want to be right now. Sitting at a cafe in Paris having a latte. Okay, I hope you enjoyed those. They will be in my shop fairly soon. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I really appreciate all of the amazing support everybody's shown me. I mean, I've only been doing journals for 15 months, but the support's been overwhelming. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.